So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live show with live people all having a natter in chat. I'm playing in my Doodles Design Christmas Memories, and I'm using, because it's quite thin paper, I'm using my watercolour pencils, but I'm using them dry. So I'm using just as an ordinary pencil and a coloured pencil, and this was the new set of derwent pencils, which look like this. And my set, this other set, is an original, which are in a blue-green coloured base coat. So I thought I'd have a go with these. These look slightly waxier, but I've had them many years. So I thought I'd do a comparison. So we've got a bit of a house carol scene there, and we've got a bit of a house scene at this side as well. So I thought that would make it more even. So in the derwent watercolour pencils, we've got a sky blue number 34. And I might just, if that's, oh, that's, yeah. What I might do, no, I don't really need this particular one. Now it feels there's a little bit of more resistance, I think. The other ones are a bit chalkier. I think I'm going to sharpen this one. So I'm reluctant to sharpen them, but I do have the new Comb automatic long point, and it's in a 2-system mechanism. So the first one you put in, and it says stop at the top, so you just keep turning it and turning it. Until you can't turn it anymore, so you go steady. And then when nothing happens, when you turn it round, I'm going to take this off, but I'm going to keep the colour strip. So here we have a bit of a, to keep the colour strip, because all that in there is pure watercolour. So if I wanted to do a big wash with the sky colour, I would use this. So you can see if I can get a bit more out, because there will be some left in there. And I've been collecting this in all sorts of little pots because I don't want to waste it, because it's pure colour. And I seem to have lost my little... Yep, I've lost my little china pot. So if we tip this into here, and this is a graphite one I did earlier, we can get rid of all the wood, because we don't really want that in there. If you want texture, that's fine, but I don't really. And then if we push this down here, now I do have a few other bits in there as well, but I don't normally, so we'll put 2 drops in there. And I'm not going to use my brush, but everything's packed away, and that's got colour on it. Each one has colour on it. Somewhere there will be a little mixing brush. Oh, oh my goodness. Do that one. And we can mix that round. And that will dry as a beautiful pale watercolour. And I intend to do this with it and put it in my little book of colours, like I did with the Gansai Tambi watercolours, little puddles of colour. Let them dry, stick them in the book, and then I have 72 watercolours. And that's quite thick, that, so you could put some there and make that into a wash, and that would do a lovely beautiful wash for a watercolour paper if you were doing professional watercolours. Oops. under there, excuse me. There we go. So now we have the point. Now you can make it really sharp, or you can just colour with it. I don't really want to take mine to there, but for goodness sake don't put that down the drain, because it's all pure watercolour. I'll show you what it looks like. So you've put that into here, and then very carefully you start to turn it, and it then it's taken the wood off. Now it sharpens the point, and then when it gets to where it can't do any more, oops, it's not enough, and you can see all the colour just appearing. So all that is pure colour, and that's your point. So we have a beautiful point. So as I say, I'm not going to waste that. I'm going to tip that straight into the pot, ready for next time. So you could have a bit of a tray, oops, a tray. Now of course you've got to be careful with this now, because it's going to be very soft. It's a very fine point, so you've got to be very careful. But it'll teach you to be light, because you only get 2 or 3 coats on here. It's only an ordinary paper. It's not board, or it's not drawing paper. It's just colour book page. So again, you get about 2 or 3 colours, that's shades, that's all. And if you want little circular motions, depending on what's easier for you to build up your colour. And then we have a light blue, that's quite nice. So we've got a light blue we can go over the top. Don't want to scratch your paper, because we don't want that. Those really crisp blue days. And I want rid of that black line, so I might struggle with that. So I'll put that back into there, so it just keep a really sharp point, and this protects the point. There's no point shoving this into a tray or into something else, because it's going to get bashed. Here, that's not going to get bashed, and that stays like that until you want it next time. Now I've obviously done that with this one, which is bottle green. So we've got a bit of a bottle green going on. I might do the cottage first. So I'll turn to my pale colours, my browns. There's a raw sienna and a golden brown. They're both quite pale, and a brown ochre. So I think I need to sharpen my brown ochre, because it's gone. And I am looking for an automatic pencil sharpener, or an electric one, because this particular action isn't normally good to do hundreds of times. And again, I'm collecting the colour in the bottom, and most browns are going to be fine, because you can, now, if you don't want to take it right to the end, you don't have to, because it means you can then pop it in here. And you can get a decent point. It's not going to be as long as the other one, but it's going to be decent. And then I'm going to keep this this colour here I'm going to put on the end of. So I've got some earthy tones, and I've got blue, and I've got grey. So I'm just going to put a very light coat on here. Now I do want rid of the lines, and they're not black, but they are quite thick. So I'm just going to give one little thin coat. Under there, and remember this is going to be the lightest coat of all, so this is going to be the highlight. The first coat is the highlight. I think I'm going to maybe touch a bit of a darker brick, so this one is brown ochre 57 and this is golden brown 59, and I think I like that. Or swap. And have a lighter brick. Depending on how you're going along. I'll zoom in and then we can see a bit better what I'm doing. Oopsie. I'm going to temporary. Oops. So, swap about. So you can do whichever you want. I think this one's a bit darker than before, so you don't just have to use one colour, you can use a lot of different colours if you wanted. And a little bit up there. And then when you have a nice little run, you've got like a little flat facet that allows the pigment to just glide off the pencil and not make any indents or lines or scratches. So it'll all be soft. I was scratching up there, so I stopped. And we have the back side of the house. Little outhouse on the end there. And you could have this the same colour if you wanted, but I think I might just go around stones and pick them out, I think. And I used chocolate on the other one, so I thought I'd use chocolate on this one. and there's a chocolate here, so get rid of this line. I found this colour chocolate, which is 66. It's a really nice colour for kind of just obliterating that. And again, you can go back in and blend and soften. And there's a copper beech, Van Dyke brown. Sepia is quite a nice, cool colour to build up some quite nice deep shadows. It's not quite as cold as the chocolate. Now if you want some sharp lines, you have to sharpen your pencils. Unfortunately, you can't get away with that, so again, just doing the browns and then where there would be natural build up of colour. We have a bit of golden brown to warm it up a bit. And sepia is just quite a nice colour to get rid of that line. But I do want that to be quite dark. Oh dear, sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. That was silly. I need that line to be quite dark because that's crisp white snow, and I want that to be a good colour. So again, let's see what happens. Should be quite light, that one. And just keep building up. Now you can only get a couple of layers. You can't get loads and loads and loads. You can't get a lot of layers. Oh, excuse me. I have my Thursday cough. I reserve especially for streaming, or it reserves me, I should say. So we've got a bit of a chocolate there. I think that's going to be dark enough. It's a bit too early to go in with black. Excuse me. Now that will be dark though. There'll be barely anything of its original colour because it is a dark corner. And you can take the excuse me, I have the black and just I didn't sharpen it the full length. Excuse me. Now these are quite old and they have been dropped quite a lot, so, and you can hear that little bit of waxiness going on. Can build that shadow on that side as well. Oh, sorry about that, I had a coughing fit. So I'm going to build a little bit of a light on here now. So you can decide whether you want it to be kind of pale or dark. Now it's going to be quite bright because it's a bright, crisp day. But I suppose it doesn't have to be realistic if you didn't want it to be realistic. I would like a little bit of warmth in the cottage if possible. But we need to build a bit of a and you can be it as dark or as bold as you like. So we're getting now where there's a couple of layers on here, so it'll only bobble up if you do it too much. So this one's got to be quite light. Oh, sorry guys. Oh, thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Let's see if I can keep going a little bit. So again, That might be a little bit of a dark corner. I seem to stay quiet. My throat seems to be not so bad. I don't know how many coats you get on with normal pencils. And these seems to be a little bit more waxy than the others. You can feel the wax resist. But as I said earlier on the video that I watched, made in the early 80s, there was the strips. Once they've made the strips, they were dunked in a wax before they went into the casing. So I'm not sure if they still do that anymore, but and it said it was to adhere them to the pictures, the painting, the paper, sorry. Wanted a bit of. Now on the other one, I think I put blue sky on the other one. So just have a quick flick and have a look. On the first one, yeah, I put blue sky and then I put a colder blue. So we've got that sky blue which we've just sharpened. And we may as well do them all. You can always darken them later if you want, but always remember light to dark. And then I've got indigo, but I think indigo might be a bit too dark. Delft blue, I think, is the one that I used. It's not quite cold enough, isn't that one? Maybe a cobalt blue. It's too warm, is that? So let's see if we've got a... that's the one I used, I think, cobalt blue. Yeah, it's just a bit cooler. So it's a very cold, crisp sky. But that's fine, I can go over that because it would be darker at the bottom anyway. The bottom windows downstairs will be a lot darker than the upstairs ones. I can just put a bit of something into there. And you probably see less upstairs light than you would downstairs. We need a door, so we've got a holly we need a holly bottle green. I think that might do. It will have a little red door, which will be okay with a little red robin. So we need a red. I don't think I want a purple red, but I want a red. So deep vermilion, what's the other one? The geranium. I've got this obsession with Geranium Lake. Geranium Lake number 15. Absolutely adore this one. And it's a coldy red. It's a cold red. It's not a warm red. So you might put that on and go, oh my goodness, that's a bit bright. But remember, we can go light to dark. Let me just put something underneath there. Oops, I have an avalanche. I have an avalanche. So that's that red. And a complementary colour to red is green. So just put a bit of sap green over the top of that red. And it's dulled it down. And I think I might put a little bit of deep vermilion over the top. Kind of red it out a bit. And remember, we only get about 3 layers on here. You get bits soon and you realise that it's not good. So I need a very sharp. And I wouldn't normally put the black there, but because I've got red and green, it's not actually going to be a black. And then I've gone back to brown. But I think the hinges, this is chocolate, so it's quite dark. And you can put a shadow under there if you want. Have a bit of shadow in there so you can hear that it's a bit waxy. So these are the original ones, not a bit of a shadow over there. So we've got a bit of a shadow going on. And then just to dull that down a little bit more, tiniest touch. So it's dulled it right down. Oh, hi May, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? So I just finished this little bit off here. I think we've got the chocolate. I'm going to put the black away because if I keep touching the black one I might get a bit carried away. I've done the windows. Oh no, I've missed a window up there. Look. So there's going to be a tiny bit of window up there because there's an awfully lot more. And again, you can't press down because you'll snap that gorgeous long point. And we don't really want to do that. So sepia is slightly warmer than chocolate. But we need a bit of a shadow going on up here. We could do with a bit of a highlight there, so I'll just put that there. And if you can get a highlight, it's quite nice as a contrast. To show that is a recess. And it's got rather a shadow on it. I want to try and get the shadow on the right side of every window. So that's where the shadow is, and then that's the shadow. That's the shadow. That's the shadow. And that's the shadow. Trying to get rid of that grey. Make the windows a bit more realistic. Oh, we do get a bit of snow. We had a bit last week. Yes, sorry darling, yes Kingo, we have a bit of snow in the UK. When we went to Manchester a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week, we had there was snow on the top of the moors, and then it did snow here a few days ago, but it's hit and miss. It's a bit hit and miss. We're on the Vale of York, so it's very, very flat and boring, so we don't normally. So I'm going to darken the whole of this here, this side. It's going to be in shadow, and then it'll give the house a bit more form. When we get this one down, you'll realise that that is the gable end, and that's where it should be. Oh, the Moorhills, they're the Pennines. As you go over to Manchester from Yorkshire, there's a set of hills that run through the centre, not quite through the centre of England, but through the centre of the north. They cut right across, so when you get to the top, you drop down into Yorkshire, and at the other side there's Lancashire. And they're called the Yorkshire Moors, and they're quite treacherous in this kind of this season. In fact, most seasons they're very underrated for being quite dangerous. So we have our mini mountain range. So hopefully that cottage has got a bit more form now. Now we do want a bit of grunge under here, because we want that line to kind of give it a bit of grunge. So you can see that there's more light hitting around there than at the other side. And if you really wanted to kind of then, when we finish, you can kind of really get a bit of a grunge going to show that. And it's a cold, damp side, is that it's not warm. The chocolate's warm, but really is, you know, not going to get much sun, much daylight. You just want to be black, but it would like to be just that bit. And of course this one now is in a bit of shadow because it's not as forward as this one, so this wants to kind of be kind of grunged up a bit. Because it'll look too silly if it's as bright as the other ones. Number 66 is chocolate, so it's going to be a bit of a grungy dark corner there. And then we've got some lights coming into here. So we've got a bit of a shrub there, but I might do that shrub first and then take the same shrub and take it darker. So I'll leave the browns out because I want to do this stone the same, but it needs to be paler, so I'm just going to do the green first. There's a bottle green. I'm not sure if it's going to be the right green, but no, I think I wanted that. I think I wanted that green, juniper green. I think there's sap green. Oh, cedar green's quite a dark kind of garden one. That's a nice one. Just one soft layer because I'm going to really kind of keep the highlights light. And I think that's growing over the top. So that's just one very pale colour. And then I'm going to take a different one. I don't think I like bottle green. Look, I need something to grunge it up a bit, and I think there's an umber. Sometimes it's nice to keep things simple. The other way to grunge it up is to put a dark blue, because of course green is made up with blue. So again, where we need that edge to be dark, instead of putting black, I'm putting Prussian blue, indigo number 36, and it's dark, so it's going to darken any blue you add to green is going to darken it up. And again, I want rid of these lines if I can. So you've got to pick a dark colour. Now it could have been a dark red, it could have been a red. Red would have done, but we've got this one. So we'll take the cedar green and then blend it out by going back over that blue. It's completely disappeared to being just a green shadow. Sorry if my hand's in the way. Just leave the tiniest little highlight. Kicking about. And I've made a bit of a start, so again this can become dark now because all that shadows. And I think that should have some red berries on it, but of using black, I'm just using a dark colour. To really darken that up. And then if we leave that for a second, go back to our little wall here, just do this little bit and then I'll pan out and you can see if it's made a difference. So we need our little wall now. And it would have been made of the same stuff as the house if it's an old cottage, or possibly. And that can be in shadow, but we'll do that next. You want the base coat down first. Oh, sorry, I thought the camera's at such a funny angle. Now, if you make a mistake, you can still erase it with an electric eraser, it will come out. So I think I'm just going to give those a bit of a... So you can put as much detail as you want, and then I'm going to take the sepia and just run that down there, put a little bit under everything, kind of grunge that up a bit. You can just make those little stones pop out a little bit. This is the chocolate. It's just going to give that kind of grunged up. And again, that gets rid of that line. You could do this last if you wanted. I'm just going to do it now, and that's definitely the shadow. And what that will do is it will make the line disappear, but it will also create depth. And it will emphasize the white snow. And that's giving it a bit of depth. Got to just remember not to have too much of a contrast, otherwise look a little bit unnatural. It's a suet dessert with currants in it, or raisins. I think it's currants, but it could be raisins. I don't think it's traditional at Christmas. So if you want to get some really nice dark shadows, get some dark shadows in there now. I keep thinking I'm going to be in the way if I do that. And you, instead of doing this particular bit, you could do this last. Is going with the black. Just a little bit. And sometimes that's so good against the snow. It creates some amazing shadows. And we did want so again we can go I don't want too much black, but if you have black next to that white, that snow is going to pop. And then we need the chocolate for the shadow. Can't have black as the shadow, but has to be a bit grungy in that corner there. And you could put a shadow over there if you wanted as well, to show they are really, really kind of deep, these, you know, they're not everyday kind of things. So you can make the windows really dark and just get just to make that pop out. And you need to play with lights and darks, but I shall just show you this for a second. We'll pan out and you can have a look. So that's our little cottage. Now that is in exactly the same colours, names, as this one. This is the Derwent watercolour pencils new set, and this is the traditional original set. So there's very, very little in it. You can still build up some quite nice areas of shadow and dark. And we do need a bit of chocolate again, just under this, because we don't want that grey line. I don't want that grey line. I don't want the grey line at all. But I just have to soften a bit, because otherwise it's going to look like it's not attached. And it is, so it needs to be grunged up a little bit. But I can, and then this wants a complete shadow. Complete shadow. So that's Derwent watercolour pencils in Doodles Designs. Doodles Designs Christmas Memories. Thank you for watching.